the types of studies that have been done have been studies where you might have people with dementia and without dementia, and you compare their vitamin D levels, and you don't know if the vitamin D in the people with dementia is low because something about their cognitive function is causing them not to go outside as much, for example. It's changed their lifestyle. So this is a study that has used this, as I just mentioned, the genetically predicted vitamin D rather than measured vitamin D, and it overcomes a lot of those problems. What this study has shown is that if you have very low vitamin D, it increases your risk of dementia, but it also showed that more is not better. So this notion that if you take a big supplement and push your vitamin D level higher and higher, it'll reduce your risk of dementia is not borne out by that study. But it's a really great study that indicates that we've kind of been saying we need to avoid vitamin D deficiency for our bone health. But we now know that we need to focus on mitigating vitamin D deficiency probably for dementia, probably for autoimmune conditions and for infection as well. So I think that we're getting multiple indications now to suggest that a focus on making sure that we don't have large swathes of our population vitamin D deficient would be a really good thing to do.
Yeah. So, Rachel, is there a clear understanding of why a vitamin D deficiency might increase the risk, for example, of dementia?
Probably through two mechanisms. Well, actually probably more than two, there's probably lots. But the two main ones would be a potential role in the vasculature of the brain, so the blood vessels in the brain. So we know that you have vascular dementia. So that's potentially one mechanism. But the other one is that we do have vitamin D receptors in our brain, and it seems to influence a bunch of different neurotransmitters and in our brain. I'm not sure, dementia is not my area, and I'm not sure if it plays a role in Alzheimer's disease and the beta amyloid that's laid down in Alzheimer's disease. So I'm not sure of the mechanism there, but we certainly do know that there are vitamin D receptors in the brain. So it's quite likely that through that mechanism, vitamin D plays a role, not only in dementia, but also if you have very low vitamin D, it probably does also play a role in things like depression and anxiety.
Again, the message seems to be get that vitamin D where it needs to be.
Yeah, but more is not better. I think that's a key message, that lying out in the sun and getting a whole heap is not going to fix everything for you.
Yeah. Let's talk to Suzanne in Manly. Hey, Suzanne.
Hi, how are you?
Well.
Good. Now, a couple of years ago, I didn't fall. I just went down on the ground, and I'd broken, and I couldn't stand up. People helped me to get on my feet, and I kept on falling again. And we found out I had a chronic meniscal tear in my knee. Now, I went to two specialists. One said, "Oh, you're just unbalanced." The other one said, "Right, you're unbalanced." But he said, "I'll do a blood test." And he did an X-ray, which took about an hour and a quarter, then a blood test. And evidently in the blood test showed I didn't have any vitamin D at all. So he put me on 6 vitamin Ds a night, and a morning and night. That was 12 a day for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And then he dropped them back. And they were vitamin D, Australian vitamin D, 1,000 units, or IU. Maintain muscle and bone strength. I was going to an osteo also for workout for my leg, trying to strengthen the muscle above the knee. But I've dropped back on the vitamin D taking them. I must admit I take vitamin C and vitamin B, but I'm wondering, should I still be taking, say, a couple of these vitamin Ds a day? Because it's good for calcium to support the calcium.
Yeah. All right, Rachel, can you help with that one?
Yeah. So again, I think it's really important that if you are not spending time out in the sunshine, then the likelihood is that you won't have sufficient vitamin D, and a vitamin D supplement is the best way to avoid being vitamin D deficient. And if you have had a history of poor balance or falls or fractures, then making sure that you're not vitamin D deficient is extra important. So, and it won't do you any harm to take 1 or 2 vitamin D tablets a day. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably good advice to keep on taking them if you're able to.
Yeah. If we were, Rachel, just to take a multivitamin that had some vitamin D in it, would there be much danger of us actually ending up with too much in our systems?
No.
All right.
So the dose of vitamin D in multivitamins is moderate. It's enough to avoid severe deficiency, but it's not enough to cause any harm. So look, I'm not a great fan of taking supplements. I don't take them myself because I think a lot of the time they're expensive urine, and that we should be able to meet our vitamin and vitamin D requirements naturally through food and sunshine. But I don't think that there's any doubt that the lifestyle that many of us live makes it difficult to meet those requirements. And if we're not able to, then a supplement is a really valuable way of meeting those needs.
Someone wants to know whether vitamin D can help with repelling mosquitoes. Have you heard of that one?
Well, I wish it did because I'm a mosquito magnet. I have not heard of that one, but I'll look it up.
All right. And also another texter says, I've read lack of vitamin D is linked with autism. I can't say I've heard that one. Have you come across that particular theory?
Vitamin D has been linked to over 100 health outcomes. So if you were to type vitamin D and autism into Google, you would find a research study that had suggested that it was linked. And look, there is some evidence that vitamin D deficiency in pregnancy could increase the risk of autism in children, but the evidence is not solid. But again, for pregnant women, so there's also some evidence that vitamin D deficiency in pregnancy increases the risk of children having allergies, for example. Vitamin D seems to play an important role in the immune system. So avoiding vitamin D deficiency in pregnancy is a good idea for things like allergy, autoimmune disease, and possibly also things like autism and brain development. It's not confirmed, but it doesn't do us any harm to avoid being deficient.
I'm getting a strong feeling that your overall message here, Rachel, is make sure you get that vitamin D intake just right, and it will help with a whole lot of things.
Yeah, that